Been moving differently, yeah. Feel like I've been through it all, yeah. Most of y'all bitches are hard, yeah. Especially if you ain't been involved, yeah. Had to learn early, it's not fair. I ain't have no one to call, yeah. I can't do business with y'all, yeah. I'm on the mission, it's ain't shit new. I move like I've been here before, yeah. I do what you don't, I be doing the most. I ain't fitting no Porsche. Keep moving messy and bitch, I'm a Goshen. I move like I've been here before, yeah. I do what you don't, I be doing the most. I ain't fitting no Porsche. Keep moving messy and bitch, I'm a Goshen. I don't move like I'm new here, feel like a resident. It's like I grew up here, I'm getting settled in. Wherever I'm stepping, bitch, I don't feel out of my element. Ain't shit new, I move like I've been here before. You see what I'm on, I'ma get what I'm on. Then bitch, I'm a ghost. If a chick moving messy, I leave it alone. Just like the wedding, yeah. I call her Dasani. She got that water tsunami, yeah. Pull up to your BMs, you liable to find me. I tried, told you, I'm primal, I'm grimy. When I come to Punani, it's Moe, need money. Might slide with your sappies beside me, don't try me, yeah. Suicide if you try me, ho, you got a posse, the ID, the body. Cause shit can get lively, we still moving tribal like this shit the 90s, ayy. Ain't gotta remind me, no, we on that high key. Ain't shit new, I move like I've been here before, yeah, I do what you don't, I be doing the most. I ain't fitting no Porsche, keep moving messy and bitch, I'm a Goshen.
All right, welcome back, Korie. You're a regular old podcast veteran now after your first one.
I'm still not a veteran, no.
Well, this part 2 started, I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm going to just read the stuff that is cool to be public about. But I talked about one of the moments in the previous podcast, which we'll talk about later, but I was like, I need to clarify something there. When we were discussing, you know, how we did on the podcast in private. And then I did say we could do a Sextra2restrial part 2 and talk about different ways of structuring relationships to avoid jealousy and any other negative vibes or feelings, and clarify/critique ourselves and each other from part 1 if you wanted. And you said we could do our own podcast part 2 without the books, and that would be great to talk about different ways to avoid jealousy, negative vibes, and structure relationships, and especially clarify and critique ourselves. As I was told, it looked like we were arguing a bit with one another.
We did. It did look like that, yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
And I said that would be awesome. And then one part from here that I think we can kind of just take off from is I was saying I don't feel like exclusive, like making yourself exclusive all the way to the point of monogamy is really like natural or like good for or healthy for like the human biology, the human being. But there does need to be balance, and I don't think it should be a free-for-all. I do think that guardrails are necessary and that there is a balance to be struck. And I think the way I worded it when I was talking to you, is there needs to be a balance. A community of good people who love sharing everything is the balance, not a global community, because that's not exclusive. And people tend to behave worse the more anonymous their actions are. So what we're aiming for is a tight-knit community of high-quality people. You mentioned like swingers, and I actually think that like that's kind of like, I think the only way it can kind of really work coming out of the current structure that we're in as a way to avoid jealousy, because it's kind of like a one-to-one, like a trade-off, you know? So it's not like one person doesn't feel like they're getting burnt, you know? But you could have a community of swingers, but like on any given night, it's just like, you know, trading with one other couple. So it's still kind of like rooted in monogamy, because there's still like a pair bonding going on, but it allows for us to be who we are sexually and still get like an emotional companionship as well, you know?
Yeah, but my thing is that I don't think you could really resonate with somebody if you do that type of a lifestyle. And then, you know, I have a big issue with trust and lying that also comes into play. So, I mean,
Well, that's why honesty has to be like
well, yeah, but I mean, you have
number
to, you
one.
cannot just, I don't know. I had a lot, I had two people review what we went over, and they had completely different opinions about stuff. You know, the pros and the cons of things. But yeah, trust is a big thing. I mean, if you're gonna be, say you're a swinger, I mean, you have to trust somebody before you even engage in a relationship. You don't know their background, you don't know where they're coming from. You would have to definitely vet people out before that even occurred. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, for
Yeah.
sure.
I mean, you could have some psychopath that you sleep with and murder you. It's just you would definitely have to get to know these people before you would just even contemplate doing something like that. But I did do, you know, I did talk to two different people, and they had two different outlooks on
What
things.
was their takes?
Um, one really thought that, you know, you definitely need trust in relationships. You know, you have to spend time with people before you really can trust them and feel comfortable with them and know that they're, you know, genuine people. And then the fact that, you know, even if you're exclusive with, I wouldn't say exclusive, but if you were, you know, exclusive with somebody and you're in that type of a environment or lifestyle, you're in that type of a lifestyle, there would also be jealousy. I don't care what anybody says, there'd still be jealousy about you spending your time with somebody else. And then the person that you're almost, I don't know how to say, I don't really want to, if you're in that type of lifestyle, you're not really exclusive with somebody, you're emotionally attached to somebody more than you are doing this swinger type thing. But then that person not trusting the person that you're with, not knowing them, you know what I mean? Because you want to take care of the person that you're emotionally with, but you don't want them to be, you kind of want to know who they're with. You want to also understand who they're with, and not just some stranger. We talked about this a little bit ago, or later on. I think maybe it was yesterday when I wasn't feeling well, but yeah, I mean, you can elaborate a little bit more on it, but I mean, there was a lot of thing about, you know, the connection is stronger with somebody else than other people. I know in the swinger community, the
Well,
connections with people are very
I think
liberal, and
part of having sex is to strengthen the connections, though,
yeah, but you don't want to
in a given
you have to
community.
strengthen the connection with, you can't just be connected to 1,000, you know, 150 minus people. You have to have at least one person there that you're connected with.
What do you mean?
Like emotionally, you have to have one person that you're connected with.
Like a
That's how,
companion,
yes.
but that
So
doesn't mean
somebody
you
that
can't
you
have.
rather, I don't know. It's hard for me to talk about it. I mean, she had said everyone is jealous when you're giving your love to somebody else and not yourself, pretty much. The jealousy aspect comes in there. So, okay, say if I'm with somebody else, you don't know them, right? You would kind of get a little bit jealous. You kind of get a little bit concerned because you don't know the person.
But I'm not saying I agree. I actually agree with that. I'm not talking about that situation though. I'm talking about a situation where you do know them and you
Okay,
are okay with them.
but okay, yeah. But anyways, you said you weren't gonna put me in the hot seat, so
I didn't say that. I said I wasn't going to be mean. And that is what, so to get to that, I did feel when I went to critique both of us, and I watched it like with that, like more of a discerning eye, I did feel like I was a little harsh on you. And I do think overall you did a great job. and it was your first podcast ever. And so there's that. So that would be my main criticism of myself overall. But then there was one part, if you're ready to go ahead and discuss that part that I wanted to clarify specifically. Are you ready for that?
Yeah, maybe.
Well, we're gonna go
what
for
the
it.
part is.
So basically, he says just be real with yourself, and everything will fall into place. So I take that anyway. But he doesn't really offer any solutions or proposed ways that we should, social structures regarding, sexual relationships or this whole, tribal, communal, parenting, or he offers, a lot of evidence for what it has been in the past and what's worked for us as a species. But he doesn't really make any suggestions or present any solutions. What do you think?
You shouldn't have to make any suggestions for solutions. You should, like organically live our life the way that we want to live it.
No, I know, but I'm saying, what are your solutions personally?
What do you mean? What are my solutions personally?
Like, of course, like we can't make recommendations to others, and he's not making recommendations to others. But like, what are you going to do with this information?
What are you gonna do with it?
I wasn't ready for that. You flipped the script on me. Have sex with a lot of different women, and then I had a horrible answer. So I didn't like my answer there. It was kind of tongue in cheek, and it was kind of like, as I told you, I think it was more of like me exaggerating that I'm never going to make myself exclusive. But there's a balance there. Like, I represent the balancing act, and I feel like there is a balance to everything. And so like in that regard, it was me. First of all, it was a little bit of a joke and a little bit of tongue in cheek. And I probably, like, by that point in the podcast, I think the alcohol was hitting me a little harder than I wish it had been. But I still like I still have discernment, and I still feel like I only want to be like have sex with or be intimate with people that I feel a connection with. So it's more like I just want to have license to be intimate with anybody that I want to be intimate with. But I'm still pretty picky, actually. Like, considering that I'm a dude, I would say I'm pretty picky, like compared to other dudes. But that's just me. That's just my clarification in that regard. Like, I'm not like out here trying to just have sex with anything with two legs, sort of thing. Like, I'm pretty discerning in that regard. But
yeah,
I'm still not gonna like limit myself or exclude myself when those few moments happen where I'm like, I really want to be with this person.
yeah, but I mean, for me, there's that trust thing. I can't trust somebody on the first date. I can't. I have to get to know them a little bit more than just because in the past I've had some pretty bad experiences. And also, you can cut this out if you want, but the podcast that you had the other day with Aaron, he was talking about boundaries, setting boundaries with people. And also in the professional world, you have to be fake. You have to be, there's deception, especially when you're meeting somebody for the first time. You don't know them, you don't know their background, you don't know their family, you don't know their what they like, what they dislike, that kind of thing. So that's one thing that I just can't get with somebody the first date type thing, because I have a trust issue.
That's not really what I'm talking about either.
I know, but okay, clarify then.
I'm just saying, in the instance where I do, like, okay, say I have like hung out with the person multiple times, and I do still want to be intimate with them, but I have a main companion. Like, I'm not gonna.
Okay, I get it. Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
Because it's not. It's fucking rare that happens. So like, I just feel like I should act on that intuition. And don't get me wrong, that intuition needs to have discernment, and it can't be like the youthful, like lustful, like, oh my God, like every pretty girl is somebody I want to be with. Like there does need to be a certain level of connection. What that level of connection is, I think, is like unique to every individual person and every individual
Well, it
relationship.
depends on their background too, and how they.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely
How they
depends on
see
the
the world.
background and how things happened in your life. In the past, in your life, sometimes you get burnt. I mean, I've been with narcissists for years, and it's one thing that I don't trust. I have a really bad time trusting people because, for 6 years I lived with somebody, was married to him for 6 years, and then after those 6 years went by, he turned into a narcissist, an alcoholic, and it was like, wow, I never saw that part of him, and it wasn't because of me, but it was like, okay, well, he's had this all along. He was raised that way, and finally that came out in him, and I really shouldn't be talking about him, but I mean, it's just one of the things that's my trust issue with people, because you think you know them, and then
I mean, I'm not gonna like tell the full details, but I got the first time I ever got really, really burned, it was my own father, and it was like
yeah,
quite the burn,
yeah,
magnitude high. Again, I'm not gonna go into details, but
yeah. I
it's just
shouldn't have
like,
even brought up my ex. You can please edit that
but
out,
no,
but I can say that it
it
was somebody that I was with.
I'm probably not gonna edit it out unless you like tell me specifically, like from minute to
I've only
minute.
been
I'll
married
send you the
once,
file, and
so
then you tell me like cut this section out. You know what I'm
well, I
saying?
can
Like
redo it real quick. So
631
it was
to
somebody, yeah, it was somebody,
642 or something.
yeah.
but but no, let me finish the point about trust before you move on. I have reached a point, because I just don't trust anybody, that it's like, it's not that you don't trust anybody ever. It's that you trust your own intuition about people in any given situation, because you can trust somebody in one situation and not the other, the same freaking person. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So it's just like you have to trust yourself to make the right decision in any given moment. And that's what trust is about, is trusting your gut, trusting your intuition. And again, like, I think the word intuition is a little, people just think of it as like kind of this, I don't know, they don't have a very discerned view of intuition. Intuition is, it's I don't know how to describe it, because it's just beyond description in a lot of ways, but there is, the more experience you have at using your intuition, the better it gets and the sharper it gets. Um and I think intuition and trust are go hand in hand, because the only real trust is trust in yourself to make the right decision. Because every time I've been burnt, even when it was like people really close to me, like my dad, there was something inside of me that knew not to go along with that, and I did
Mhm.
anyway, because I was supposed to, is the family thing to do, or that's my dad, or other times, with other people that I don't really don't shouldn't get into, but just like every time I've gotten burnt, it was really me burning myself by not listening to that true intuition, the one that's like being real with you. You know what I mean? Your heart, your gut, your soul. You can feel it. It's hard to explain, but you can feel it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I've been there before, where you can feel the negativity sometimes. You can definitely feel the negativity sometimes. You can definitely feel the connection. You can feel completely safe around somebody. Yeah, I believe in that. I do. I was kind of you were probably raised in a family that was conservative. I was raised in a family that was very liberal. And
Well,
so
I'll give
there's
my
just
parents credit in saying that they were relatively non-political, but yes, they were both raised in very conservative families, so that bled through.
yeah,
Um, but they weren't explicitly political either way, really.
yeah, yeah.
Their actions would suggest they were very liberal, honestly. Uh, but I think they probably did vote Republican. Who knows? Just because their family did. Who knows?
Yeah.
Or they
Yeah.
might have just not voted. I don't even. They didn't talk about voting. They were those kind of people. You don't talk about voting.
And when you first go out on dates with people and stuff, you try to impress them, so it's not your true self. You know, you're trying to impress somebody, you're trying to make them want to like you. Rejection's always there, that rejection part, and of course you blame yourself. I don't know, I blame myself when I'm rejected. But yeah, there's also that thing where it's not, when you first meet somebody, it's not real. You know, it's not their
Chris Rock
genuine
has a
real.
bit.
Yeah, what?
Chris Rock has a bit about that. He has a comedy bit. He's like, when you first meet somebody, you're not meeting them, you're meeting
Yeah.
a representative.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, so it's, you know, it's when you try to impress, it's seriously hard to see somebody's art, because they're trying to impress you. They're trying to be the.
But you can get good at seeing through that shit though. When sometimes they're legit, but you can see that they're just faking it because they have to,
Sometimes you
because
can't.
you know what I'm
Sometimes
saying?
really good. Sometimes really good.
Yeah, you can be better and worse at faking it, just like you can be better and worse at reading how fake they are.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, there's some people that are very manipulative. People that are like narcissists, they're
Tell
very
me
good.
about it.
They're very good at, the narcissists are very good at, the
I don't
silver
like the word
tongue at the very
narcissist
first. Well,
because it's used by narcissists to project onto people like me that are just like very confident in themselves, and they'll try to bring people like me down because I'm like trying to
they're not going
actually
to bring you
show
down
love to people.
At first, they will trust me. At first, they have that silver tongue. They're so sweet and so kind, and they do things that are just like, wow, he's opening the door for me. He's doing this for me. It's a great guy. And then once they know that they have you, then that's when they turn, and you can see the narcissism, and that's I've experienced it plenty of times. So, yeah. But then
I think the art of a female narcissist might be a little different though.
yeah, it could be, but I don't know any
It's
female
hard to even
narcissists.
explain because it's like a female narcissist is like reading you, so it's different depending on who they're manipulating, you know?
Yeah, but I don't. It's hard if you don't. I don't know any female narcissists that I've been around, so I don't know how that would work. I mean, you might have. I don't. I don't know anybody that's a narcissist except men that I've been with that are narcissistic. Trust me, I've read all the books on narcissism and stuff like that, and it's just some of the stuff. I mean,
What
I'm
is
not
it? Define narcissist though?
there's somebody that brings you down. They
Okay,
pretty
now
much
that's
gaslight
bad. See,
you. They
because
bring
no,
you
okay,
down.
that I
But the
no,
thing
those
is,
are
with
good.
narcissism, they are very verbal. They're verbal. It's verbal abuse. It's making you feel like you're the issue, not them. They're perfect. You're perfect. You know? So it makes them feel like, okay, you're perfect, but the issue with our relationship is you. And they make you believe that just because the way they play the game, the narcissist game with your mind, everything. So it's one of those things where it's like, okay, well, what am I doing wrong? And then, they put the blame on you, and then you kind of believe the lie because
No, that's a good point.
I mean,
That's a
they
good
can
discernment
manipulate your
from what I
entire
was
mind,
thinking.
your body, your soul. They know how to manipulate you. They know who the person. They know who you are. You're with somebody for a couple of years. They kind of figure you out. They know what your triggers are and stuff like that. So they use that to manipulate you. So that's a narcissistic male for you. I mean, at least for me, that's one of the things that's why going back to the trust issue, I don't trust people unless I get to know them more and I spend more time with them and I get to see exactly who they are. So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, I still don't like that. I still don't like that definition of narcissist fully. I liked the part where you said bringing other people down.
They know how to do that. They know how to put it into your mind that it's your fault. They know how to say, okay, they know how to manipulate to the point where you're like, okay, well, I'm the fuck up. I'm ruining the relationship. I'm doing this. I'm doing that.
But
And
aren't there some people out there who are just willing to play the victim and will call good people narcissists just because they're not willing to make themselves better?
why would they make themselves better if they were being played by a narcissist? Can you clarify what you're talking about for me?
I think there's people that will call good people will use the term narcissist to throw good people to make good person sound like a bad person
Oh
when they're
yeah.
not doing anything. They're literally like being a parasite on this person's life. This person's just trying to do good for everybody, for their family, for themselves, and the victim is playing victim and calling the person who is providing for them a narcissist just because they're not like getting everything they want. Like, I don't.
I can see that. I can see that, but I mean, I've never been in that position before. So
Well, that's why I like the term narcissist needs to be broken down a little bit, because it's like I've been called a narcissist, but I never put other people down. It's all for me. It's all like I am great, and I'm never gonna let anybody else say otherwise or believe like you can believe otherwise, but you're wrong. Like I'm the shit. Period. Like, it's just what it is. But everybody is like we're fucking children of God. We're light. We're fucking constellations. We're stardust. Like the fact that we're alive makes all of us the fucking shit. We're all unique. And so I'm not trying to bring anybody else down. I want everybody to feel as good as I feel about myself.
yeah, but
Is that
sometimes that comes off
narcissistic?
as arrogant. No, it comes off it's arrogant though.
It's not narcissistic as long as it's not narcissistic, because I don't, you can call it arrogant. It's not even really arrogant though. Maybe it is cocky, but
I mean,
I
sometimes
think
it comes off
arrogant,
as cocky and arrogant. Yeah, it will. That's
but
sometimes it'll
even
come off
to
with it,
me,
but
arrogant,
that's
and
not as
again,
bad as
maybe
being a
we're just
narcissist.
playing semantics or word games now, but even to me, arrogant is like
Words get in the way.
thinking that you're better than other people, and I don't feel that way. So I don't think I wouldn't call myself arrogant. If like defining these words is important, because yes, I think very fucking highly of myself. I am one with God, you know what I mean? But everybody is, and I wish everybody could see that in themselves. And that's we live an amazing life, you know what I mean?
Well, I mean,
The fact that
you think of
existence exists is beautiful, and I
yeah.
just wish everybody could see it that way and could see themselves as beautiful.
It's
And
hard though when you're around people that don't see it that way,
ex-
right? I mean, I've got friends
certain
that don't see
people
it that
do
way.
make it more
So,
difficult.
so
They
the
definitely
vibe that
drain
you
your
get
life
from
force.
yeah,
They're fucking energy vampires out here. That's
I mean,
real.
I've lost friends over the couple of years just because of the way I was. I've definitely changed in the past 20 some years from who I was, but along the way you lose friends because you're like, okay, well, you're not with my vibe. You don't, you're not with, you don't believe in what I believe in. So whatever, it's just, but when you're with people, there's also another thing where it's like, when you're with people, sometimes people can make you very calm. Like, that's why I've got two best friends that really calm me down, when I'm with them. It's like, my one friend called me up today. I haven't talked to her for half a year, called me up, and we just picked up where left off and everything. And then there's other people that you don't talk to, and they call you up, and it's just like strange. It's just you just feel on edge and
Disassociated.
very disassociated. I had that happen a couple weeks ago, and it was just weird. It's like she brought up my past, and hey, so and so is doing really well. He burned half the house down, and it's like, I don't want to hear that. I don't care about that, anymore. It's like they just kind of bring up emotional poison, I guess, trying to feed it back into you. And it's just that's why I've lost a lot of friends, because they were very dramatic. I don't know. They just didn't see that. After my viewpoint started changing after the couple of years, it's really different than what I used to be. So I have lost a lot of friends that way. I wouldn't even call them friends, acquaintances, that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, just being, I don't know. Today and age, it seems like not having an exclusive relationship with somebody is strange. Um, I know there's a community down the road from where I live that is a swinging community, and there's people even on our next door type thing Facebook community or whatever, they have their own little community down the road from us, and they're swingers, and they're always talking about like the people that aren't like, I don't know. It's strange. It's just not, I don't know. But yeah, I did get 2 different viewpoints, like I said, from people. Let's see, I did write them down. Like, okay, in the swinger community, you have a connection stronger than the other people that you're with. That's also what he told me, is that's how you know that person is meant for you, pretty much. So in the swinger community, you can I mean, they have fun, but the first thing they do is they do get to know one another, but there's always that one person that they are more emotionally connected to. If that makes sense to you?
Yeah, like there's their
Like we were
main
talking to.
companion.
There's a main companion, and then there's the other, you know, we call them the others. And that's what she said, you know, she called them the others, and she's a swinger.
That's kind of weird.
Well, they call them the others, but she does have a main companion that she lives with, she loves. They spend more time together with each other, but when they do have these swinging parties, that, you know, they call them the others. But they all do get together, and
That's so weird. I like, why do you need a name? Like, why do you have to group them like that? I don't get that part, but okay.
it's just a label thing. I don't know. That's just the way they are in that community down the road. They're just, I mean,
It is what
I've
it
met
is.
this woman before and I never knew it, you know, and so, you know, she was talking to me. I can't tell you who she is. But yeah, she was telling me all about it, you know, and how it works and everything else, and how, like, you know, she does have she's not married, but she has a life partner. That's what she calls them. So it's, you know, everybody has their own, I don't know. My issue is trust.
You seem nervous. Are you nervous?
I'm not feeling that great still. So
Okay.
I'm
sorry.
okay. All right. But yeah, it's just kind of, it's nervous talking about something that you don't fully understand.
I'm there, but actually, I'm there in the sense that I don't understand it, but also for me, that's like my favorite place to be because I'm a philosopher and like I'm always trying to push the edge of reality. And so like uncomfortable topics are actually what make me like, that's what excites me. It like brings me to life, you know. It's like a drug of its own, you know.
Yeah.
Exploring
It's very
radical topics.
when we went
But I'm
over
there in that I'm
yeah.
you know, and that I don't know what I'm talking about right now.
When we were talking about sex at dawn, it was very taboo. It was one of those subjects which
For
I had a
sure.
very hard time discussing because of what
Which
happened
is why I
to me in the
wanted to
past.
emphasize that I think you actually did a great job. And I was being a little harsh and a little hard on you at times throughout the conversation, but it's a super taboo topic, a super challenging topic. And overall, I think you did great. There were like a couple of things, like you did seem nervous, but that's normal given that you'd never done a podcast before.
Yeah, and I know that
then
it's, you know, my thought is, okay, I'm just talking to you. I can just talk to you and be relaxed, right? We can talk to each other. But knowing that this is going out to everybody, it does make you a little nervous, you know?
For sure, especially
yeah.
the first time you do it.
Yeah. Yep.
100%. Yep. So I just had a few notes. One was I still didn't fully understand what you meant when you said the start of the book was ritualistic. Like I didn't see anything about the book that was ritualistic. It was kind of like
I shouldn't have
it
said
was kind
ritualistic.
yeah,
I
ritualistic.
I should have said that it was kind of like beating. It wasn't beating around the bush. It was more like there was evidence, right, from one person, and then there was evidence from another person, but it was kind of like the same evidence throughout the first part of the book.
Yeah, I mean, he's
Right.
building a case. There's a bunch of people
He's
that
building
argue
a case, and there's
it's a taboo topic, so you have to kind of like build a case, especially against
But you
the
know, the thing
more
is,
like
he didn't build the
scientific
case
types that
of
are going to argue against him.
he didn't build the case of people that were against what he believed in. This guy, it seemed like him and the other author wrote the book just about why there's polygamy. There was
Not
no
at
case.
all.
There was no case in there that said monogamy was good. No case.
Well, is there any evidence for that?
Who knows? There could be, but they didn't add it to the book.
There's really
Or the
not.
book was very one-sided to me.
No.
I mean, if you go on podcasts, you can. There's people that actually argue against this stuff.
Oh no, I know. That's what I've done the last couple of days since I did the podcast, is listen
Yeah.
to people arguing against it, and they all sound like morons, honestly.
Well, I mean, if that's your belief, it depends on, everybody has their own opinion, you know? But the thing that I had the issue with was that they didn't add the other side of the story. It was just mainly their side of the story in this book.
What's the other side of the story?
The other side of the story is they didn't look at the pros. They didn't look at the pros and cons, right? The pros were about. That's what I thought. That's what I thought about it. You can disagree. It's fine. I'm not going to agree with you though. But yeah, you can disagree about that. It's fine. So
I definitely do.
okay, that's fine. That's totally fine. I just don't. I think when you have a certain case of, okay, this is what we're talking about, you got to look at both sides of the story. You can't just look at one side of the story.
He did a great job of looking at both sides.
I just don't. I didn't see that. So, I mean, yeah, he explained both sides, right? But there was no. It was mainly his point of view that drove the book. So.
Followed by a ton of evidence to support his view.
Yeah,
whereas there is no evidence to support the opposing view.
But there should have been. There's got to be. There is a little bit of evidence that can support.
No, forged
there
evidence. Yeah, and like based in like faulty statistics, there's no real evidence to support monogamy in any
explain like
social.
why people think the other direction. You know, he could explain that too, but
He did.
I don't want to argue with you. We're not arguing. I don't want to argue with you right now.
He talked about the agricultural revolution being the key to the reason. Well, it's the reason why monogamy began to make sense for people, but
Yeah.
it didn't make humans. It was the downfall of human society on a community level.
Yeah. I don't think we can. I mean, we talked an hour, almost 2 hours about the book. So, what else did you want to clarify besides the book? Were there other?
Well, I already clarified what I wanted to clarify for the most part. I mean, I thought we were going to talk about like how to structure a relationship without jealousy or negative vibes.
Okay. Well, you want to start that?
Sure.
Okay. Go ahead.
No, your turn. You're not going to just flip it on me every time there's a hard question.
Well, you're the one that's the podcaster. I'm the novice.
Well, this one's for you.
You're gonna put me in the hot seat again, okay? I mean, how can you not get jealous when you're with somebody and you're giving your love to somebody else? You don't know that other person that your significant other, whatever label they call them, is with, right? So say if I'm with somebody else and I'm giving my love to somebody else, but you don't know who he is. He could turn out to be abusive. I mean, how would you feel about that?
Yeah, I'd definitely feel better if it was somebody I knew.
But what if it was somebody that you didn't know?
I mean, you're making a great point. That's why I think these conversations
are important. That's where
jealousy
comes in. That's where worry comes in.
Well, he talks about that in the book.
But yet she's going out with somebody else, and you don't know who the hell this guy is.
He emphasizes that in the book. Like, context is so crucial. Like, you can't just do it randomly and anonymously. Like it does need to be done in a community of
And you
people
have
who
to
know
have
each other.
truth too. You need to know. I mean, if somebody asks you a question, if you're in a relationship and somebody asks you a question about it, you got to be honest with them. But I mean, say if I was going out with somebody else, you didn't know the guy, I got into a predicament.
Yeah, we agree on
Listen,
this. You keep bringing up the scenario that we've already agreed on. I'm talking about how to build a community without jealousy, and we still get to be with multiple people, because the being with the one
Then you would have
person
to be with it
shit
like
is
like
not
in the
going to
book,
work.
you would have to be with less than 150 people, right?
100%. This
You would
is
have
what
to have a
this is
community.
good. I want to build a positive conversation, not talk about the stuff that we agree doesn't work. I agree
So
if
you
you're
would
with
have to
somebody
have at least,
that
like
I
he said
didn't
in the
know.
book,
I'm sure if I was
150
somebody
or less
with somebody
people.
you didn't know, that would make you feel uncomfortable. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about people we do know. I'm talking about people we do trust. I'm talking about how do we establish a community where that's not going to break down.
Because you have to find people that have the same like-mindedness as you do.
100%.
That's
Now we're getting
hard
somewhere,
to do.
Corey.
So
It is
that's
hard to
very
do. I'm
hard to
not
do.
saying it's easy, and
Well,
that's why the
now, I mean, we live
conversations
in the
need to be
United
had.
States, but this is not normal. Having
Of course, it's not normal, but what is normal? Normal is the
but
degradation
how
of
are you going to
society.
find people that are like that?
There's more of us than you might think. 100%.
I mean, I know maybe one person now. It's like that, but I don't trust
I
people.
don't
It's just
think a
like
lot
this.
of us are as open as, especially me, but as we are. The fact that you even did this podcast is another awesome thing. And the fact that you even have these conversations with me, I super appreciate, because it's like, I'm not going to feel close to anybody unless I'm very far out. You've known me long enough to know I'm pretty different, you know?
Well, so
So like,
we're both weird, right?
for sure. So I appreciate you so much for that. Just to throw that out there.
Thanks. Yeah.
So
But
how do we build this community
I don't know, because I don't really
in a
have.
way in a way to minimize jealous feelings and like negativity in general, and to like
You would have to find like-minded people, which is really
cult
hard.
cultivate goodness and like positivity
Cult.
and
Cult.
shariness. Yeah, you could call it that, but isn't everything a cult though? Isn't any group of people a cult at this point? It's 2023. Like everybody's so fucking political. If you have any group of people that agree on any fucking idea, outsiders will call it a cult.
Yeah. Yeah.
So whatever, call it a cult. I don't give a shit.
Like the church I was in, yeah, that was cult. Yeah. I don't know. It's just hard to find people that at
It's
least in
not.
my circle of friends,
That
I
part
don't have.
is, I disagree. It's not going to be that hard.
Do you know a swinger? Do you know swingers?
I know people that are probably open-minded to it, but again, it takes people like us that are willing to open up the conversation, and then also like willing to talk about the nitty-gritty stuff that you're talking about. Like, what are the mechanisms of filtering out people that we don't want? What are those, vetting and filtering processes? Stuff that
You
needs
have
to
to.
be discussed.
It's definitely going to take time. It definitely takes time to get to know somebody.
100%,
I
100%.
mean,
And I
I've only
think
known you for what,
those
5 months?
are for sure. And I think those are things that don't need to be talked about on the podcast. I just want to leave it at that. Like those things
It's
are
fine.
things that need to be talked about, whether, in private, but just for others that might in different states want to start something similar or whatever. I do think, you gotta like really get into the details and like make sure people feel comfortable with everything.
I don't know. I still have that issue with trust. I don't know if I can ever get past that. And like I
You gotta
said,
trust yourself. Again, you gotta trust yourself
my
with that.
tribe is very small. I've got, like I said, I don't have tons of friends, probably like you do. I probably have like a good handful of friends. But their lives are completely different than mine. They still, when I was talking to my friend today, she thought it was kind of crazy, going crazy. But
That's okay.
and then my other friend was like, "Well, you do you. You're having a great time, right?" And I said, "Yes, I'm having a wonderful time." And she said, "Well, keep doing it, She said, keep having
Yeah.
fun, keep doing what you want
Thank
to
you.
do. She said, don't live your life for somebody else, and that's one of the
Yes,
things, that's one of the things
exactly.
you said. I said, I can't make it next weekend. And she said, well, I'm not gonna go. You're not gonna go. And I said, well, I don't want to feel bad because I'm not going. She said, well, don't worry about it. She's like, I want you to,
She sounds like a great
do what you
friend.
want to do, huh?
She sounds like a great friend. I
She's
like her,
my
whoever that
friend
is.
is wonderful. God, they're great. And I got two great friends they're I've known them since middle school, elementary school. They're just God, they're perfect. They're perfect. So um they're definitely like my one friend got me this bracelet that says soul sister. We're definitely souls. Definitely. But that's beside the point. But yeah, it's just hard for me to trust people unless I've known them for a while. So
100%, 100%.
but and then also finding the time to live that lifestyle, you know? So
I think you have to, I think when with the time thing, like you brought that up as well, it's like, yeah,
I mean, you
there's
got to
just
make
there's
you
just
have
a
to have
lot there.
you have to work, right? You have to live your life on the side. Um, you have to make time for yourself to be healthy. I mean, I work
You
out
don't
of
have
the
to work. I mean, you have to
kind of have to make money
you,
somehow.
for now I have to for sure, but I'm saying, there's always the chance that you meet up with a couple that are willing to swing with us that are millionaires, and own a bunch of land and like are willing to like, you know, set us up to like farm their land or like farm their greenhouses and take care of their livestock or whatever.
Yeah, but you did say that was a dream, I
Hey, of
think.
course it's a dream. Of course it's a dream, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying there's always networking and like again, using sex as like a social bonding mechanism is something that can be done.
Yeah. It could be done, but if it's a dream, how are you gonna live?
But you can make dreams happen.
You can, but okay, I guess that's what we're talking about, right? The dream.
Yeah, you have to talk it out. You have to like create it, but then you also have to act on it. Actions are even more important than the words. But at the same time, if you don't know what to act on, then your actions are kind of like muddled. If you have clarity, which you kind of need to use the words, at least with others that speak the same language as you, to like arrive at that clarity and then act on that, then the actions like have more effect.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes.
No, you're good. Is there anything that just naturally comes to your mind right now as far as anything we've talked about?
See.
Also, like the pussy doctor thing, that was also like kind of a joke. Um,
Yeah.
but I would totally do it with your blessing, but I would still be like sending you a picture of each one. Like, what do you think? Yay or nay? Or like, what's the price?
Yeah.
Like, how much do I charge this one? Here you go, Corey. How much do I charge this
No, I
one?
don't know. She's pretty ugly. Let's give her a discount.
Ugly, no, no, ugly would be a higher price.
Well, higher price, but I feel sorry for her, so let's give her a little bit of a discount here.
First timer
She's got
discount.
one leg.
Oh my
Let's
god.
see.
No, that's a pass. That's a nay.
Maybe 5% discount for that one.
All right. I like your humor. I love it.
Yeah, no, you would definitely have to try to find like-minded people. I mean, you would probably put something up on Instagram or Facebook, and you have tons of people coming to you, being like, "Oh yeah."
Yeah, so what's the vetting process there? Like, do we ever put anything on social media, or is this podcast the extent of it?
I would think the podcast would be the extent of it because
Everything
who's
else needs to
looking
be
for
done
that
like
kind of
word of
if
mouth, right?
somebody's looking for that stuff and they're not having people come to them, they're just looking for it, it's kind of like, well, that's kind of strange.
Yeah,
So,
right.
yep. But let's see.
So who are the, all right, I want to hear what the criticisms from the two people. You said you
Okay.
had a couple of criticisms.
So boundaries.
So
Keep it up. You're supposed to be nice to me.
have I not been though?
Mm,
Be honest.
pretty much the exclusivity about things. Talking to somebody that's in a monogamous, I guess that's how you call it, relationship. Just the jealousy, the Christianity stuff comes out, Bible. They started talking about the Bible, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's fine.
But I mean, that's just how they were raised, and that's kind of like you don't adultery and stuff like that, and you go to hell if you do that, and it's kind of like, well, that's your point of view.
Yeah, no, I
Um,
mean I don't I if your rebuttal is religious based, okay, well I'll just dismiss that off the fact that it has no like factual basis.
I think the two things in common that both of them had were trust. The
Yeah, no,
issue,
and
trust. The
that
issue
is
of
that's a
trust,
real
and not
thing.
lying, because a lot of things in this community, what she said was a lot of things in the swinger community is that people lie. They're gonna lie because their main partner, the others, their main partners are gonna ask them about the others, and that's when the lies come out about somebody else, or
Well, yeah, if you're like calling other like if you're calling people in your community others, if you're othering
the
people like right
others.
from the jump, that's not much of a community. Like that doesn't, I don't know, that sounds some weird shit to me for real.
Yeah.
That's not the vibe I'm trying to have in my community. Like nobody is going to be referring to anybody else as the others. That's for damn
So
sure.
yeah, and then what we grew up around reflects on how we are. So how we were raised and what occurred in their lives and experiences in life, growing up, your fears, your letdowns, and what you feel is right and definitely what you feel comfortable with. If you don't feel comfortable with somebody, you know, there's that too. And if you don't feel comfortable with your lifestyle, so and you have to be around people or who are like-minded and have the same interests as you do as well. That's another one. That's what I got
No,
within one day.
I agree. I agree. I think it needs to get even more detailed than that, but I agree with that as a loose framework for sure.
Mhm.
And I agree that trust is the toughest one, you know. And I feel like the way our society is set up, it's set up to breed mistrust between people and among all of us, you know. So
Mhm.
that's always an obstacle. I mean, even in monogamous relationships, that's an obstacle.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I think it makes it even more of an obstacle when you bring more people into the fold. Um, which is why that vetting process and that filtering process needs to be
But then
pretty
you
on
got to
point.
consider how long is that vetting process going to last? I mean, how long does it take?
What do you mean?
How long does a vetting
I
process
think
and
the vetting
trust process?
process is a process in and of itself. Like you have to start somewhere, and then
Okay,
you know
but
you're
then
probably gonna fail at some point.
years
It,
down the road, what if there's somebody that turns out to not be who they should be, or they turn out to be somebody completely
but
different?
that can happen in monogamy too, though.
Absolutely,
You know what I'm saying? So
I do.
I think you just have to do your best, and then at that point, it's the fourth agreement. You know, like you can only do your best. You know, and
Mhm.
then if something like that
Your best is
happens,
going to change from moment to moment. It will be different when you are healthy as opposed to sick under any circumstances. Simply do your best and you will avoid self-judgment, self-abuse, and regret.
I love
That right
you.
here. You want to go through all four of them?
Nah, I like that. That's my favorite one. Like, well, my favorite changes all the time because I feel like they're kind of like so interconnected.
Depends on
But
what happens. Yeah.
the one, and so number one is honestly like if you can conquer number one, the other three agreements are literally just support for the first agreement.
So be impeccable
That's
with your
the power.
word.
That's the power of the first agreement. Be
You
impeccable
don't
with
think
your
it's
word.
don't make assumptions?
So when I first, I have a little something to say about all four of them. Don't take anything personally. When I was introduced to the four agreements, Aaron
That's the
was
second
actually the one
one.
who introduced me to them, and he
Mhm.
has tattooed on his arm, "Don't take anything personally." So that was like the one that
Oh, wow.
for me really hit me at the like when I first started reading it, because
Mhm.
he was the one who introduced it to me. He had it tattooed on his arm. And not only that, I just feel like in American culture specifically, it's really like we're brainwashed to take everything personally. You know what I mean? Like it's just a really potent one for people in first world societies, especially, but even America's society being an exaggeration of even all the other first world countries in terms of like spoiling their kids, you
Yeah.
know, and just all of us being like the me generation, you know, and just like everything is personal. We take everything personally, you know.
Mhm.
So that one was just like timely, and also like as an American kid, just like super on point and like potent. Um, the third one is the one that I disagree with.
Don't make assumptions.
I disagree with the
Fine.
way he worded the agreement itself. But if you read the chapter, almost everything in the chapter is 100% on point. If you read
Yeah.
the very first page of the chapter, "Don't make any assumptions," it says in like the first or second or third sentence, like, "The problem with our assumptions is that we believe them." Okay, well, if that's the problem, then the agreement should be, "Don't believe your assumptions," because the human mind automatically makes assumptions to fill in gaps that it doesn't know. So this is the one agreement where I feel like Don Miguel could have refined the agreement and worded it a little bit more impeccably. If I'm going to criticize Don Miguel, which I hardly ever fucking do, rarely fucking do, but if I was to do that, that would be my
Really?
criticism.
Well, yeah, that and it seems like the biggest one because at the end it says with this one agreement you can completely transform your life.
Well, all of them can do that for sure,
Well, that's what it's under. Don't make assumptions.
but it's also true of don't take anything personally and do your best and be impeccable with your word.
Yeah.
And it is important. It is super important. If you actually read the chapter, what he's actually talking about in that chapter is 100% on point. I'm not taking anything
Yeah,
away
yeah. I mean, you
from what
can't
he's
just sum it up
saying.
in like one
I
little.
just, yeah, no, I think he could have done a better job of summing it up, though. It could have been, "Don't believe your assumptions." And I think that would have been a little bit more refined, a little bit more on point.
Well, isn't that with don't take anything personally?
No, because you don't need to take you shouldn't take anything personally, including yourself.
Well, then you shouldn't. That's the kind of saying that you shouldn't make assumptions. You shouldn't believe your assumptions if you don't take anything personally.
Yeah, you don't believe your assumptions. That's true. I
Well,
agree with that.
that ties into don't take anything personally,
It's
right?
Yes, I don't disagree with either one of those. The part and it's not even that I disagree. It's the part that I
I'm not
feel like
saying
could
you
have
do.
been
I'm
worded
not
better
arguing.
is don't make assumptions.
Mhm.
It's impossible to not make assumptions.
Oh, absolutely.
So I feel like it's more important to say don't believe your assumptions. And he does say that in the chapter.
Mhm.
But when you're just writing the four agreements as just the four agreements and you're not actually expanding on them and reading the whole book, I think the third agreement would have been better written as don't believe your assumptions.
Mhm.
That would have been more on point.
Mhm.
And then, but always do your best. That one is my favorite more recently. And I don't want to say more recently, there's been cycles where all of them have been my favorite agreement at different points in times, but always do your best. The one that the thing that differentiates that from the other three is that it's all about action. Whereas the first three are mental, the fourth one is an action, and that's all you can do. And there's a part in that chapter where he's like, the way that you can tell if you're doing your best or not is if you have energy left to judge yourself at the end of the day. Because if you're judging yourself, then you had energy left over to judge yourself. If you're doing your best, you are so exhausted because you've done your best that you don't even have the energy to judge yourself. That's beautiful to me. I love that description.
Mhm.
So I'm sorry, that was just my little four agreements tangent, but
That's all right. So, is there anything else you want to touch base on?
nah, I guess now it's time to just build this society and stop talking about it on the internet, huh?
Mhm.
All right, sweetheart. I'll see you soon.
Okay.
All right, internet. I love y'all. You got anything else you want to say to the internet before I stop recording?
I think I'm good.
All right, so there was one story I wanted to get out of you for the internet. Gotta tell everybody, like, we told them that we met at your cousin's wedding, but we haven't sent a shout out to your awesome mom yet and thanked her for connecting us.
Yeah, we should.
Can you tell them how
She
that
saw
happened? Can you
she
tell
saw
any
you in the
our
little
listeners?
corner by
Okay.
yourself drinking coffee, and you were just like
I
chilling.
was
Like,
not drinking coffee at that point.
what else you
I was
doing?
still drinking bourbon at that point. I didn't start drinking coffee
You
until
were just
late.
like laid back in the chair there, just chilling, like people watching you. And I was like, "Who's the guy over there?" I said, "I don't know who the hell he is." You know. She's like, "Well, why don't you go talk to him?" I said, "Oh, okay." You know, because I didn't see what you look like, and she was just pointing you out. You know, and I'm pretty sure you saw her point. You know, the way she is. She's like,
No,
"Well,
I
where
did
did you
not. I was
dance?"
oblivious.
Yeah, you were pretty oblivious looking. It's like you're just, you know, staring off into your own
Pretty
little
drunk.
space. You know, you're like in your little bubble over there.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, she did point you out. So, yeah.
All right, that was kind of long-winded. Maybe I'll include it, maybe I won't, but I thought I just wanted to say thank you, Julie.
You know, she's going to watch this too.
Yeah, I know she's like our number one. She's like my number one viewer.
She's going to be like, she's going to critique me though. She's very critical of me, but she loves you.
Oh, that was the one thing I didn't really get into. Okay, so I didn't like officially apologize, but like I mentioned that I was like kind of harsh on you, and I feel like I was a little
You had a bad
overly
day.
harsh.
We had a bad
No,
day.
no, no, don't make excuses
Mhm.
for me. Don't make excuses for me.
Kind of did.
Well, even though I'm about to make an excuse for myself, but this isn't an excuse. This is really what it is. Is like and I've talked about this on the podcast before. I am very fucking self-critical of myself. And like I am critical of others too, but it's never in like a way to bring people down. It's just like a way of being really sharp with my discernment. And like I just like understanding things at a detailed level, and including myself. And I also like being better at things, like
Mhm.
whether it's archery or whatever skill
Mhm.
you're talking about. And in order to get better, like you have to criticize your mistakes. You have to like prune your mistakes, you know what I mean? And
Mhm.
like I really think that like being self-critical is mostly a positive attribute. It can become a negative attribute when you forget to, show yourself some love sometimes, and you're like just drilling yourself all the time. Like you can there's a balance there, and
Mhm.
there's a balance to everything. That's why I call this the balancing act. Is like there's a balance to every aspect of life. Um, but when it comes to like being critical, like I can take it. I'm pretty critical of myself, and like my grandpa was a Marine Corps general, and so my
Mhm.
dad was raised by him. And then even though he wanted to be like less critical and less strict and less harsh on me, it still bled through, because it was how he was raised. And so like I am that way with myself, and
Mhm.
sometimes, especially when I'm talking to somebody that I'm close with, or like trying to like reach an agreement with somebody on, I can like reflect that self-criticism onto them. And like
Yeah.
when I saw it, when I was like actually watching the podcast, I edited it, but it's different when you're editing it because you're just kind of trying to find the places to cut. And it's kind of
Yeah.
like it's kind of like separated. I didn't watch it all at once when I was editing it. It was just kind of like cut up into little bits. And then when I watched it all together at once after I had edited it, it's like I kind of felt like I was a little harsh and I was like, damn, I was a little like I was putting my level of self criticism onto you, and that's harsh for anybody. It's like, you know what I mean? Like I don't know. I'm pretty hard on myself, and I try not to be that way with others. But you know, sometimes like when I'm close to somebody, I can kind of like push my like connect, like merge my energy into theirs, you know, and then like I'm being critical to myself, but it can come off as being critical to them. You know what I mean? So I just want to explain that, and that sound maybe an excuse, but that's the real excuse. At least it's not a fake excuse. That's the real excuse.
Got it. Yeah, I'm okay. I do my best not to take anything personally. So
But you honestly, overall, you did great. So there's that.
yeah, thank you. I try. I'm a little bit different when I'm working with people and I'm on like a defense meeting and stuff like that. Because you have to kind of be,
considering it was your first podcast ever,
yeah,
with me, your, for lack of a better term, companion, about a challenging a topic as challenging and as taboo as that of sex and sexuality and
yeah.
multiple mating partners and sperm competition. And that's, you know, that's some pretty you know, radical
It is.
themes
There's
there.
also people that don't have the same
Yeah, that will argue
thought, the same
tenaciously and
beliefs.
aggressively against these
Yeah, and
open-minded
I was thinking to myself,
discussions.
I gotta watch kind of like a little bit of my opinion because I've got friends that don't believe the same thing I do, and I don't want to lose them. But you know, if you lose them, they're not really your friends in the first place, right?
Especially if you're not yeah, I'm not indicting, you know, he even says it in the little short video we watched at the beginning. I'm not indicting monogamy. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like, just because it's a fact that humans are omnivores doesn't mean that being a vegetarian or being a vegan is a bad thing, or, you know,
yeah,
there's no
yeah.
indictment of veganism or
You know, one thing that was really interesting was the very first chapter. That was really cool how they explained, like, you know, in some other areas of the world, something that we would think would be like disgusting, they're used to.
is normalized. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
100%.
kind of that was kind of like how that was kind of cool how he started off the book that way. That's what I kind of like that, you know, because it was kind of like, okay, well, you know, you got to think, okay, well, different cultures, different ways, different beliefs, you know, that kind of a thing. And that was a really good first chapter that I think that was really interesting how he structured the book that way. So that was pretty cool. Yep.
I think it's a pretty amazing book for
Yeah.
anybody to read, even if you vehemently disagree.
Yeah, disagree. Yeah, I mean, even in the
open
beginning,
your
it said, you know,
mind
if you, yeah,
to other, you know, to being at least more respectful of people thinking differently than you, you know.
yeah.
So there's that.
Yep.
Well, thank you, beautiful lady, for coming on my podcast a second time to balance all the imbalances from the first episode. I feel more complete after this one.
Good. I'm glad. Yep. It was fun. We'll have to do another podcast about something else.
Maybe we'll do one when we're
That's a little bit
camping,
more
just about random
chill,
shit.
you know, relaxed, huh?
We can do one when we're camping. Maybe we'll do it about like drugs, psychedelics or something.
I move like I've been here before, yeah. I do what you don't, I be doing the most. I ain't fitting no Porsche, keep moving messy and bitch, I'm a ghost. Bitch, I ain't new to this out of town. I don't need to pull me on me when I move around. Bitch, I ain't new to this out of town. I don't need shooters around me when I'm cooling out. Just know I'm tapped in, big face. Happy this rap shit is fictional, cap. The way I maneuver, you think I'm connected. Can't hang with no stooges, my circle selective. Just know I'm good everywhere, that's apparent. I don't gotta tuck in my shit when I wear it. Fuck is you doing? Where have you been? Let's compare it. Ayy, your bitch let me hit off good marriage. She started acting toxic and I had to cut it. Thought I ain't have options, now I got a dozen. Ayy, now keep them all at a distance. Ayy, I can't let them wobble my pivot. I don't move like I'm new here, feel like a resident. It's like I grew up here, I'm getting settled in. Wherever I'm stepping, bitch, I don't feel out of my element. Ain't shit new, I move like I've been here before. Yeah, I do what you don't, I be doing messy